Welcome back to Parenting Roadmaps, a video series providing parents with short weekly videos designed to guide you along this journey, making sure you don't miss any amazing sights along the way. This is episode 9 of the preschool series. If you've been with me from the beginning, I'm going to need you to think back to episode number 1. Remember back when we talked about the different domains of childhood development? Today, we're going to take a closer look at the physical domain, specifically gross motor skills. To begin today's episode, I want to highlight one important aspect of parenting roadmaps to help frame today's discussion on gross motor skills. As a parent, you're going to find yourself periodically talking with a healthcare provider or an educator about your child's development. As we all know, the conversations focus on developmental milestones. This often comes in the form of a checklist, right? Let me be clear. These checklists are so very important. Taking the time to go through these checklists can help identify developmental delays and, just as importantly, if delays are identified, help children receive early intervention. However, for you, the parent, who is most likely not an expert in childhood development, the bigger picture is often forgotten. Parenting Roadmaps is designed to help parents pause for a moment on this journey and to give you a chance to look at the bigger picture, to gain perspective on development beyond the checklist. My hope is that by learning more about childhood development like gross motor skills, you will have a better understanding of the importance of these milestones and how they shape your child's developmental journey. And honestly, give you a new sense of purpose when you play with your child, and perhaps a sense of awe for all that your child's little body is accomplishing, especially during these preschool years. So if you're ready, let's pause and take a step back together to look at gross motor skills. The physical domain, or sometimes called the motor domain, is all about the coordination between your muscles and your nervous system, your brain, to create movement. This movement can be broken down into gross motor and fine motor skills, and today's focus is gross motor skills. Let's start with the term gross. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, here the term gross does not mean disgusting. Gross here is used to mean large, big. So we're looking at the large movements by the body's large muscles in the arms, legs, and trunk. Running, pulling, jumping, and throwing are just a few examples. Fine motor skills refer to small movements used in activities like handwriting, and these will be discussed in a future episode. Gross motor skills, like all motor skills, develop in progression. Each new skill builds on the previous one. You can see gross motor skills develop during the preschool years, from a toddler falling with every few steps to a 5-year-old zooming around a playground. Gross motor movements actually require several abilities for a child to progress to smooth, strong movements, including muscle strength or tone, balance, coordination, body awareness, reaction speed, and motor planning. These abilities may sound kind of similar, but each one is controlled by a different part of the brain. Another trip down memory lane. Remember the episodes on crossing the midline? We learned different parts of our brain do different jobs. The two hemispheres of our brain need to communicate with each other so that these different jobs that are done in different locations can all be synced up together so that we can get our body moving the way we want it to. Crossing the midline helps build that stronger brain. The stronger brain can better organize all the skills that go into these gross motor movements. I told you that crossing the midline was going to keep showing up, didn't I? One element of this bigger picture is that gross motor skills are part of almost everything we do all day long. A list of gross motor activities can often sound like a list of physical activities seen on a playground or playing sports, but that's not the whole picture. Gross motor skills are needed in all parts of everyday living. A child needs their gross motor skills throughout their day, from climbing out of bed in the morning, to getting dressed, to climbing stairs, and helping with household chores. For school, we know that fine motor skills are needed for handwriting, but the fingers and hands need a strong base. A child's trunk, shoulders, and arms need to be strong and steady so that the hand and fingers have the support and stability they need to control a pencil or a pair of scissors. Now, one last aspect to point out in looking at this bigger picture of gross motor skills. We've talked about how these skills are a progression. Children don't develop these skills overnight or just out of the blue, and you know this. However, what is sometimes forgotten is that children need to practice to develop these skills. And the best way to practice is through play. As you will hear time and time again, play is where your kiddos need to be. And finally, my hope is that you'll find some time this week to simply pause for a moment or two and appreciate what you are seeing as your child's body moves and explores the world around them. Please tune in to our next episode when we take a closer look at one of these areas of exploration, the playground. Enjoy the days of exploration ahead, and as always, remember to enjoy the journey.